There's a banking family in the 1800s that did something no family had done before. They profited from all sides of a war. The Rothschild family. 5 brothers spread across 5 European capitals: Frankfurt, London, Paris, Vienna, Naples. Each brother controlled banking in his city, and together they controlled the flow of money across Europe. When Napoleon needed gold to fund his conquest, bankers provided it. When Britain needed to finance the war against Napoleon, the Rothschilds provided that. They positioned themselves across borders, profiting regardless of which side won, not because they believed in any cause, because war is profitable, and profit has no loyalty. But the Rothschilds didn't just finance wars. They controlled something more valuable than gold: information. In 1815, communication moved at the speed of horses. A letter from Paris to London took 3 days. Official government dispatches took a week. But the Rothschilds had carrier pigeons, private couriers, and fast ships. They knew what was happening in Europe before governments did. And on June 18, 1815, the day of the Battle of Waterloo, that information advantage made Nathan Rothschild the richest man in England. In one day, one trade, based on knowing the outcome 24 hours before anyone else. He knew Napoleon had lost before the British government knew, before the stock market knew, and he used that information to manipulate the market, legally, brilliantly, and catastrophically for everyone else. Every information empire begins with infrastructure, the ability to know before others. For the Rothschilds, that infrastructure was built by Mayer Amschel Rothschild, the father, a coin dealer in Frankfurt who had 5 sons. In the 1790s, he sent them across Europe, not randomly, strategically. Amschel stayed in Frankfurt, the German banking center. Salomon went to Vienna, the capital of the Habsburg Empire. Nathan went to London, the global financial center. Karl went to Naples, the southern European trade hub. James went to Paris, the French financial capital. 5 brothers, 5 capitals, 5 banking houses, all coordinated, all sharing information. But infrastructure wasn't enough. They needed speed. And in the early 1800s, speed meant pigeons. The Rothschilds built the fastest private communication network in Europe. Carrier pigeons could fly from Paris to London in hours. Couriers on the fastest horses, private ships that didn't wait for government dispatches, a relay system across the continent. This cost a fortune to maintain, but it was worth it. Because information that arrives one day early is worth more than information that's one day late. In 1815, European markets were driven by one question: will Napoleon win or lose at Waterloo? If Napoleon won, British government bonds would crash. If Britain won, bonds would soar. The entire market hung on one piece of information: who won at Waterloo? Whoever knew first could trade before anyone else. That's stage 1. The network. When you build a communication infrastructure faster than everyone else, when speed becomes wealth. Stage 2 is when infrastructure becomes intelligence, when the network delivers information that changes everything. June 18th, 1815, the Battle of Waterloo. Napoleon's French army versus the Duke of Wellington's British-Prussian alliance. The fate of Europe decided in a single day. Nathan Rothschild had an agent at the battle, a man named Rothworth. His job, the moment the battle ended, race to the coast, cross the English Channel, and deliver the news to Nathan in London before anyone else. By evening, Napoleon was losing. The Prussians had arrived. The French army was breaking. Rothworth saw the outcome, didn't wait for official confirmation, rode to Ostend, crossed the Channel in a private Rothschild boat, and arrived in London on the morning of June 19th, and delivered the news to Nathan Rothschild at his home. Nathan now knew Britain won, Napoleon lost, the war was over. But the British government didn't know yet. The official courier wouldn't arrive for another 24 hours. The stock market didn't know, the newspapers didn't know. Only Nathan knew. This is the purest form of information advantage. You know a market-moving fact before the market does. What do? Most people would buy British government bonds. Britain won. Bonds will rise. Buy now. But Nathan was smarter. If he started buying aggressively, people would ask why. Why is Rothschild buying? Does he know something? The price would rise before he could accumulate. His advantage would disappear. So Nathan did the opposite. He went to the London Stock Exchange and started selling. That's stage 2. When you know what the market doesn't, and you're smart enough to disguise your intentions until the moment you strike. Stage 3 is when information becomes manipulation. When the market moves not on truth, but on perception. Nathan Rothschild stood in the London Stock Exchange, selling British government bonds, consols, the backbone of the British financial system, and he looked worried, stressed, as if disaster had struck. Other traders noticed immediately. Rothschild is selling. He never panics. This must be bad. Britain must have lost at Waterloo. Panic spread. If Rothschild, the best informed man in London, was selling, everyone should sell. The price of consols started falling, then crashing. Traders dumped bonds, trying to get out before total collapse. The price fell from 61 to 53, a 13% crash in hours. And Nathan kept selling until the market was in full panic, until the price hit the floor, until everyone who was going to sell had sold. And then Nathan reversed. Through agents, through intermediaries, through proxies, he started buying everything. Every console available at rock-bottom prices. Millions of pounds worth while the market was still panicking, while everyone thought Britain had lost. Then, late on June 20th, the official courier arrived. Britain won, Napoleon lost. Waterloo was a British victory. Console prices exploded. From 53 back to 61, then 65, then 70. Everyone who sold to Nathan at 53 realized what happened. They'd been tricked. Rothschild knew Britain won. He pretended Britain lost. They sold in panic. He bought at the bottom. Now the bonds were worth 30% more. Estimates of Nathan's profit range from 600,000 to over 1 million pounds. That's $1.2 billion in today's money. Made in less than 48 hours. That's stage 3. When you use information not just to trade correctly, but to make the market move incorrectly. To create panic, induce others to sell, and buy what they sold at prices they never would have accepted if they knew what you knew. This wasn't illegal in 1815. No insider trading laws, no securities regulations. Nathan manipulated the market legally, brilliantly, and permanently cemented the Rothschild fortune. Stage 4 is when information advantage becomes structural power. When you're no longer just trading on information but controlling the institutions that create it. After Waterloo, the Rothschilds were the richest banking family in Europe. But wealth alone isn't power. Power comes from being essential. And the Rothschilds made themselves essential to every European government. They financed Britain's war reparations to France. They financed France's indemnity payments after Napoleon's defeat. They managed bond issues for Prussia, Russia, and Naples. Not as charity, as business. Governments needed money. The Rothschilds had it. But more importantly, the Rothschilds had credibility. When a Rothschild bank issued bonds, investors bought them because Rothschild's backing meant the bonds were safe. This gave the Rothschilds power over governments. They could demand terms, collateral, reforms, and policy changes. If a government wanted Rothschild financing, it had to comply. By the 1820s, the Rothschilds were managing national debts for Britain, France, Austria, Prussia, and Russia. They weren't just bankers. They were the infrastructure of European public finance, and their information network kept growing. They knew about political changes before they were announced, treaty negotiations before they were signed, gold discoveries, crop failures, and trade routes. Everything that moved markets, they knew first. They'd finance the government most likely to win a conflict, withdraw from the side most likely to lose. No political loyalty, only financial calculation. Critics called them manipulators, accused them of starting wars for profit, controlling governments through debt. Some of it was true. The Rothschilds did profit from war. They did influence governments, but they didn't start wars. They just positioned themselves to profit regardless of the outcome. That's stage 4. When information advantage becomes permanent. When you're embedded in the system. When governments need you more than you need them. Stage 5 is when wealth becomes dynasty. When one generation's advantage becomes family legacy. 4 of the 5 Rothschild brothers had died by 1855. James, the youngest, continued until 1868. But the dynasty didn't end with them because they'd built institutions, not just fortunes. Each brother's banking house continued, run by sons, then grandsons, each generation inheriting the network, the relationships, the information systems, the institutional power. By the late 1800s, the Rothschilds had financed the Suez Canal. Nathan's son helped Britain buy controlling shares in 1875, the first European railroads, gold and diamond mining in South Africa, and oil extraction in Russia. They weren't just bankers anymore. They were infrastructure investors funding the Industrial Revolution. Their wealth was estimated at hundreds of millions of pounds, more than most national governments. But by the early 1900s, the world was changing. New banking houses emerged. J.P. Morgan in America, Deutsche Bank in Germany. The Rothschilds were still powerful, but no longer monopolists. World War I devastated the European aristocracy. The Russian Revolution destroyed Rothschild operations in Russia. The rise of America shifted financial power from London to New York. By the mid-20th century, the Rothschilds were one banking family among many. Still rich, still influential, but no longer the power they were in 1815. That's stage 5, when dynasties persist but dominance fades. Because information advantage is temporary, technology changes. The telegraph replaced pigeons. Radio replaced couriers. Eventually, everyone had fast communication. The Rothschilds' edge disappeared. Not because they failed, but because their advantage became commoditized. This is the lesson of every information empire. It lasts as long as the information asymmetry lasts. When everyone has access to the same information at the same speed, the advantage is gone. The Rothschild pattern just repeated, with perfect precision. High-frequency trading. Stage 1, the network. Modern HFT firms build the world's fastest communication infrastructure. Fiber optic cables laid in straight lines between exchanges. Microwave towers to shave milliseconds off transmission times. Servers placed as close to exchange matching engines as physically possible. Citadel Securities. Jump trading. Virtu Financial. They spend hundreds of millions on speed infrastructure, just like the Rothschilds spent fortunes on pigeons and couriers. Stage 2, the information advantage. HFT firms see order flow microseconds before the rest of the market. They know when a large pension fund is about to buy, when a mutual fund is rebalancing, when retail orders are coming through Robinhood. They see orders before orders hit the public market. Microseconds early. Just like Nathan saw the Waterloo results 24 hours early. Stage 3. The market manipulation. HFT firms use that information to front-run orders. They see a large buy order coming, buy first, push the price up, then sell to the original buyer at the higher price. This is legal. It's called providing liquidity. But the mechanism is identical to Nathan's Waterloo trade. Know before the market, trade before the market, profit from the gap. Stage 4. The institutional power. HFT firms now control 50 to 70% of all U.S. stock trading volume. Exchanges depend on them for liquidity. Regulators can't restrict them without crashing market functioning. They're embedded in the system, essential, just like the Rothschilds became essential to European governments. Stage 5, the generational wealth. Citadel's Ken Griffin, $35 billion net worth. Renaissance Technologies, Jim Simons, made $100 billion for fund investors. Virtu Financial, 1,238 consecutive profitable trading days from 2009 to 2014. They win almost every day because information advantage is almost impossible to beat. The pattern is identical. Rothschild 1815, Pigeon Network, no Waterloo early, fake sell, buy at bottom, $1.2 billion profit, HFT today. Fiber optic network, see orders microseconds early, front run, buy and sell at optimal price, billions in annual profit. Same mechanism, different technology. Information asymmetry creates wealth. Those who know first, profit first. The only difference, Rothschild's advantage was 24 hours. HFT's advantage is 0.001 seconds, but the outcome is the same. The informed extract wealth from the uninformed, always. And today, that extraction is happening thousands of times per second. Every single trading day. Most investors never see it, but it's there. Just like the Waterloo trade was invisible to everyone except Nathan, until it was too late. If you've watched this far, you understand the information asymmetry cycle. You see how the Rothschilds in 1815 and HFT firms today use the exact same mechanism. Subscribe to Capital Origins, because when the next information advantage emerges, when the next technology creates a speed gap, you'll want to recognize it before you're on the wrong side of the trade. Information always beats capital. Speed always beats strength. Those who know first always profit from those who know second. Hit subscribe. Because the Rothschild dynasty started 200 years ago, but the pattern they perfected is still running every microsecond, every trading day. You just need to see it before it extracts from you.